Welcome to Power Up Talks. Bienvenidos a Power Up Talks. Estamos en alianza con Reinhold. We are in alliance with Reinhold with a very special guest who is in Puerto Rico for the first time, Yves Spinelli, co-founder of Spinelli Kilcollin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yves, for doing this.
Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be doing this with you.
We have these collaborations with Reinhold, which we love, and interview leaders about topics we want to hear about and people who inspire us. And reading about you and the brand and your life inspires us so much, so thank you.
Oh, thank you. You're kind.
Let me start with, you started Spinelli with your wife.
Yes.
Soon after you met your wife.
Yes, within a few months, actually.
So you were starting a brand, a business, and a relationship.
Yeah. None of it was, we didn't know that at the time.
Okay.
But, I mean, I think we both knew it was going to be a serious relationship. But we started, I made the first ring for myself. I made this ring. I designed it. It was, 5 bands that I designed to wear across my fingers. And I worked in a high-end clothing store in
Maxfield.
At Maxfield. Some people know, and obviously you know.
I know, and I read that one of the key moments in Maxfield that you were with your father, and then you saw Elton John.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yes. Yeah. When I was a kid, I used to go there with my dad. And
tell us about that fashion moment. About that, what clicked to create.
My parents are hairstylists, and they're from Italy, so they like fashion. I'm named after Yves Saint Laurent, my name. So I kind of was destined, I think, to be in fashion.
Please.
So I grew up with that, and that moment back, this was when I started there was in 1997, and I was 21 or something like this. There was no internet for fashion. Nobody was buying clothes. So you relied on these specialty boutiques to bring a point of view. And there was just incredible as someone who liked creativity and fashion to see, this people that were inspired just within their head. Like they weren't trying to
Emulate, imitate.
Exactly, yeah. So it was a very special moment, and that's what I grew up with. I worked there for 12 years.
Okay.
So I was immersed in that, and I made this ring for myself. And then people started asking, and then my soon-to-be wife was wearing them, and people started asking, Dwyer, and we decided, let's start a brand. But it was very much just like, hey, people keep asking to buy these, why not make them and sell them? And there was no other business plan outside of that.
Spontaneity and fuel. Take us to those early years, Yves. What worked? What advice can you give us when in the early years of starting something?
I think for us what worked, and I think this you'll see in a lot of successful brands that you read about, is the focus on something. We knew that these connected rings, people that we didn't know wanted to buy them. So we focused there, and we had limited, we financed ourselves with just a few $1,000s. We didn't have financial backing. So we didn't have a choice but to focus just on this point of view. And I think that really did a lot for us because we didn't dilute the vision of what we had. And also we were very particular about the choices we made. We didn't have frivolous we couldn't afford frivolous choices. And looking back, I think, having this core product that you're focused on and really building from there and connecting with people because, no matter what you make, no matter how great it is, if people aren't interested, you're really just making it for yourself,
In entrepreneurship, they always say, solve a pain.
Yeah, yeah. And jewelry, is jewelry a pain? But, we put something there that wasn't really there. It was one of those things that you read about entrepreneurs finding, the things people don't know that they want, right? Or need.
Exactly. And I love that it brings us to your desire, which starts with the galaxy ring, the interconnectivity, to connect with people, to connect with the universe, to define is that what fuels you both? Talk to me about that desire.
Yeah, it does. It fuels us both. And also as we grow, we really think a lot about this because, you know, going from just the two of us doing this, and now we have, you know, over 50 employees, as well as we have jewelers, and they're all based in Los Angeles where we are. You know, if you really think about how it all comes together and just this one idea that we've worked to build into a brand supports so many different people. And as we grow, we want to continue to have that, you know, it's, in the beginning, it was really me working with every single client. Obviously now we've grown, I cannot do that, but we want to make sure that the brand still brings the intention that my spouse and I have.
I want to go there after.
Okay.
Let's talk about
how's everything connected?
Yeah. And there's a moment that the Galaxy ring, it connected that signature piece that opens the door to everything else.
Yeah.
That idea that connects. Tell me about focusing and not completely be distracted about that, the engine that fires when something really works.
Yeah. Again, I think, well, the connected rings we learned as we started doing this. And actually, as we worked with people, we really learned a lot about these rings. And I realized that they meant different things to different people. Some people would have numbers, you know, like I was just working with someone here who is making a ring to signify her daughter and the 2 grandchildren, and they start getting the connections. And so many people would come to us with, oh, I want a band with 3 to signify me, my husband, and my daughter, or you know, and you start to learn when you do all these different variations and how personal it is to people, you really start to work with such a wide range of people and meet different people from different ages to, I mean, really I see people that are, you know, pre-teen to, you know, older than my grandparents wearing our jewelry. And it's really incredible to think of how, again, this idea brings all of this, you know, brings pleasure to so many people.
Yves, bold, innovative, cool. Those are some of the words that you use to describe the brand and the rings and you and the vibe, I guess. How would you describe it?
I think, I mean, the original one I made was very bold.
Okay.
And that was my idea, was
like
to have,
this one.
yeah, exactly, like this.
Exactly.
And then even when we started to mix diamonds, I really liked the strident boldness of that. But also at the same time, it's sort of minimal. You might look at that and say, well, that doesn't look minimal, but the concept is very basic.
It has a simplicity.
It has a
like
simplicity.
a cleanness, is it right? Okay.
Yes. And it when that simplicity is there, you have to be very refined because you don't have a lot to hide behind, right?
Of course.
So
like cooking, do you cook?
I love to cook. It's like cooking.
Exactly.
It's exactly like cooking. Yeah, it's exactly like cooking. I actually find that cooking is a great it's a great creative art because you really have to find you have to like find the meal and what you're
and the ingredients. We use few ingredients. I have a cooking club for 10 years.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Well, my family from Italy,
of course,
the Italian cooking is about just good ingredients,
Exacto.
very, you know, minimal, thought out, and yes, well, that's amazing. It's very much like cooking.
If you start and your wife start gaining success, growing, take us now to that stage of growth, which is very hard for brands because you start, it's you, the person, and then you have to delegate, and then you have to grow, and it's a moment of transition.
Yes.
What advice or what worked or what did you learn?
Someone early on told me, and I think about this all the time, someone who was a financial person who liked our jewelry and took me to dinner one night. And he said, here's my advice to you as you grow. And this was 10 years ago when we had like 3 employees. He said, as an entrepreneur right now, you're doing so much because you can't afford to hire people or you're not ready to delegate. But he said, the only way you're going to grow is you have to realize there's 3 categories of what you're doing. There's what you're doing that someone else can do just as well as you can. There's things you're doing that someone can do better than you can. And then there's things that you're doing that only you can do. And every year you need to start pushing off the things that someone can do just as well, or hire people that can do things better than you. And it's so easy as an entrepreneur, and also someone who just, I like to work, that you end up doing things, I end up doing things when I go like, wait a minute, I can give this to someone else in the company to do. But it's a hard thing to do, because if you don't allow yourself to delegate, you end up doing things that kind of tire you out and truly are not what makes the success of our company. Of course, now it's our whole team. But my spouse and I have ideas of where we're going to go and the ethics of the company. Those are things that only really we can do.
That the vision.
The vision, yes.
And being here in Puerto Rico.
And being here, exactly. And meeting
Mm-hmm.
clients, meeting you, coming to Reinhold.
Yves, what yin yang, your spouse and yourself, when we have, it doesn't have to be your spouse, but that partner. Tell us about what has worked, or an advice of working with somebody that close. We all have that person.
Yeah, people ask me this all the time. They go, how do you work with your spouse? I mean, to me, I couldn't think of a marriage where I'm not working with my spouse, because we share already, our lives, but now we share everything together, and we're working always toward our life. Exactly. And we balance each other very well. My wife my spouse was an artist before we met, and actually in the beginning was still making sculptures, and I came from luxury and sales, so we both had a different understanding, but we both have a very similar vision of aesthetic and minimalism, and we share that, so we're very good at deferring to each other, but also collaborating with each other. So design, my wife is focusing on more, and I'm maybe focusing on the sales growth more, but we really go over the lines together a lot.
What inspires you, Yves?
Music inspires me. Yeah, I've been in.
What are you listening now?
Oh my gosh, I listen. I have like over 10,000 records, and I collect. I once, when I was younger, was getting into the music industry, and then I stepped out of the music industry. But if I wasn't doing this, I'd like to think that's maybe what where I would have gone.
What do you value? What's important to you?
Integrity and kindness, I think, is important. I think we all, especially I think now, regardless of what your beliefs are, and in the world there's just so much. Every year there seems to be a bit more turmoil, and it's very important to realize we're all sharing this experience together, and we should all be kind and have integrity and be honest, and I think that's really what drives me.
What father, entrepreneurs, the whole package that we all have, right? The busy lives. Where do you find, I guess maybe in music, but where do you find that peace to continue to make space to create and to do the next?
Music, for me, I will spend time at night just listening to music and just sort of relaxing. And also my children, though I have two boys, and they're very loud and very hectic.
As they should.
Yeah, as they should. But actually, and that's also nice that my spouse and I together can separate from the business, spend time with the children, and realize like it's still there, it's fine, and it helps us get motivated to grow.
And if finally you're in New York, LA, what's next? What do you want? What's there left?
Honestly, traveling is wonderful, and I love going to different cities, different countries, meeting different people. I've always worked around people, and I think, as this keeps growing, we have the luxury of really being able to travel, because we sell around the world, and it's almost like I love my work so much, it's almost like I'm kind of on vacation all the time, even though I'm working, but it's not work, because it's fun.
I always end the Power Up Talks with 3 questions. What do you know now that you did not know then? What would you tell your younger self?
Take more risks. I think a lot of times I was nervous to make certain moves in our company, or even
like growth moves, or
growth
or vision
moves.
moves, or okay.
Oh yeah, that even vision, even starting the company, you know,
exactly.
like working toward it. And we just opened a bigger store in New York, and that was quite, you know, years we've been thinking about it. We were so nervous. Then when we opened it, I realized we should have done this sooner. So I always feel and I don't mean risks like uncalculated. You know, these are calculated risks.
Yeah.
Because
Educated risks, but do it.
Risk.
Stop the fear and make sure that you make it happen.
Yes, and that's the thing is there's never the right time.
Yeah.
You create the right time. You know.
What has been a bad piece of advice? Or the worst advice?
I love that question so much. Early on, people told us when we, going back to when we just had this small group of rings because we couldn't afford to make more things, and we believed that this is all we had. People were telling us, you need more. You're not going to be a jewelry line unless you have pendants, unless you have earrings. Make a full line.
What should be?
Yeah, and there was a respected buyer that I respected, and we sort of were like, that makes a lot of sense, and we started making things that weren't really what we felt strongly about, but felt like that does make sense, but it didn't make sense ultimately because nobody wanted it, we didn't sell it, we didn't feel good about it, and it was really not a good piece of advice, so that we now were like double down, no, we know what we like people respond to, so let's just keep focusing on what we know is correct.
Focus is key.
Focus.
What has been a great piece of advice? So what can you share with us that has been advice, life-changing advice that you incorporate?
I think someone told me, your life moves in the direction of your thoughts. Your life moves in the direction of your thoughts. and so if you're always thinking there's negative and this is bad, this is going to be a failure, if that's in your mind, you're sort of propelling yourself into a negative space. Whereas if you think, you know, it's sort of like the visualization, but even more so, it's really working toward that. So if every day you're working towards something that aligns positively with your thoughts, then you find the energy and, you know, you're excited.
It almost helps you too.
It helps you, and then you create more, and it's sort of like the snowball effect. Yeah. And that's something I think about. It's not always easy to do. I'm not
it's a great.
I'm not there 100% of the time,
but
I think about it.
Completely life-changing. Thank you.
Thank you. This is wonderful.
Thank you, and we look forward to. I look forward to buying my first Spinelli now. And thank you to Reinhold for this collaboration and allowing us to interview and meet Yves. You're in Power Up Talks.